Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Morning Shot.
Welcome to Morning Shot with Ahmad Akhtar and Audrey Seek. Now, from groceries to gadgets, Singaporeans have been using their SG60 and CDC vouchers in all sorts of ways, and not everyone agrees on what counts as a right way to spend them. Miss Audrey Seek, have you figured out a right way as of yet?
I think the right way would be the typical groceries, meals at the hawker center. But some people are going a little bit more indulgent, right? A new pair of headphones, manicures even, you know?
Like it.
Yeah, so people have some strong views as to what's right or wrong. What do these public conversations tell us about how Singaporeans think about government support? And how might future voucher schemes evolve to better meet changing needs and expectations?
Well, to help us make sense of these questions, we're joined by Terence Ho, who's an Associate Professor of Practice at the Institute for Adult Learning at the Singapore University of Social Sciences. Terence, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So CDC vouchers, the SG60 disbursement, vouchers have clearly become a rather regular feature in Singapore's approach to social support. How do you see their role evolving within our broader support framework?
Yeah, I think the vouchers are meant as a form of broader-based support with the sort of dual aim. One is to alleviate the cost of living for households. That's the CDC vouchers more so than the SG60. And the second is to provide a leg up to heartland merchants, shops and hawkers. So they've become, as you say, really a part of the staple of different forms of support that are available today.
Yeah, so we've seen people using these vouchers, for everything from groceries, of course, and meals to gadgets like AirPods, even gaming consoles. What does that tell us about how different groups here view government support?
Yeah, I think there are some who feel that, that government spending on such support should be limited to the less well-off, that really this is to make every tax dollar count and people should only be using the vouchers on essentials. But there's an equally valid view, I feel, that the vouchers are meant as a form of broad-based support. People should be free to use them in any way they choose because a dollar that they, save through the vouchers could be spent on essentials anyway, and all of it benefits the heartland stores and merchants.
Yeah, as you said, people should be free to use them as they please, but what is the reality on the ground? Is there a preconceived idea among some segments of the population that CDC or any government-issued vouchers, for that matter, should be spent on essentials like groceries, household items, healthcare needs, or is that being expanded out towards non-essential items that provide enjoyment or comfort?
Right. So I think from the policy planners, the government's point of view, there was never a sense that the vouchers had to be restricted for use only on essentials. But given the kind of online chatter that we see, the feedback we see, I think there's a group, maybe not the majority, but some Singaporeans who feel that, this, because the aim is really to alleviate the cost of living, everybody should be focusing the spending on essential items. And this is the group that would think that, every tax dollar should count and be stretched for its intended purpose.
Yeah, so do you think there's value in trying to draw that line in some way, or is it too subjective to try to enforce anything like this meaningfully?
My own view is that it's probably too subjective. Everybody has a different idea of what is necessary for themselves, and people should be free to make their own decisions. And people's financial situation varies quite considerably. So I think that this is a choice that's probably best left to the individual.
Yeah, Terence, just to put you on the spot, have you figured out a right way to use your CDC vouchers, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. Yeah, so I do use them where I can for, hawker meals, purchases that I'm going to make. And if I do have some balance, I think I will also think about donating them to a charity when I'm done with using some of the vouchers.
Wow, that's really great. And we want to talk about the format in which these vouchers are given now. The voucher schemes like the CDC vouchers are being distributed by household rather than individually. We know that SG60 vouchers is by a per person and per citizen basis. But what kind of concerns can the household format raise, especially with larger families where they may feel like the support doesn't stretch as far as a household of two people?
Yeah, so I think the CDC vouchers, which are meant primarily to help the cost of living, were distributed at the household level, whereas the more celebratory SG60 vouchers were distributed to individuals. I would say that both have their place. Certainly, for alleviating the cost of living, one can imagine that the household is an appropriate unit to manage that. But as you pointed out very well, that if the support were always and only targeted at households, this could penalize those with larger household size.
Yeah, Terence, another question we are keen to know the answer to is that obviously not all small businesses operate in the heartlands, and Singaporeans do tend to shop across a range of locations. Is there room to broaden the reach of such schemes to include a wider mix of merchants?
I think the aim, going back to one of the aims is to really give a boost to the heartland shops. I think that remains the aim. And even within this group, which is already quite large, there are very many stores, but I think the Federation of Merchants Association of Singapore, FMAS, has indicated that, the differences between businesses that are digitally savvy in high traffic areas versus those which are maybe less savvy or in less highly frequented locations. And I think the first priority would really to bring the remaining merchants who are not on board yet, but who qualify on board first. I think that would be the high priority.
Well, Terence, going back to the format here, do you think there's room for more flexibility on how maybe future voucher schemes are designed, perhaps maybe by factoring in household size or income levels or other needs, or are we going to be going down a rabbit hole here?
So I think that the vouchers should be seen in the context of the many different forms of support that are already available today. And there are many forms of support which are actually means tested, whether it's healthcare, housing grants, comcare, and there are also social transfers for the lower income groups such as the Workfare Income Supplement, Silver Support, and the GST voucher. And so I don't think the vouchers per se are the mainstay of support, but they are a form of broader base or universal support that complements the more targeted support that's based on income level. I think the government probably sees the vouchers as being a very flexible way in terms of being able to vary the timing, the quantum, depending on the economic situation, whether inflation is high or lower, and also the available resources. So I think that in the longer term, this could be a part of the ad hoc sort of component of support that complements the other, means-tested, larger forms of support.
Yeah, just to add on to that, do you think vouchers should be perhaps issued more frequently, say quarterly instead of annually, for example?
I think right now it's more or less ad hoc, and it gives the government maximum flexibility. So there are some who worry that the vouchers may become a crutch and repeated use might set up expectations that the government would always be giving them. So I think that maybe a format where the government still has flexibility may not be a bad idea after all.
Well, we know that these vouchers are meant to benefit Singaporeans and try to cut down cost of living, but these schemes also aim to support the heartland hawkers and small businesses. From what you've observed, has this goal been achieved?
Yeah, so earlier mentioned, I think that depending on which particular businesses, whether they are in high traffic areas or otherwise, the benefit may vary. But in terms of the overall or aggregate benefit, I think this is something worth studying. Because after all, most households would purchase items that they were probably intending to purchase already. But whether it's given larger boosts overall to heartlands versus maybe, say, the central malls, this is something I think more data and further studies would be needed to establish.
All right, we have been talking about Singaporeans using their SG60 and CDC vouchers in many different ways. And what is a right way to spend them with Terence Ho, who's an Associate Professor of Practice at the Institute for Adult Learning at SUSS. Terence, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep it here on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.